morning and welcome to the Atheist Half Hour. My name is Michael Fulford, broadcasting at you live from the New Covenant Studios in Pensacola, Florida. This morning I'd like to kind of go over some of the things that I've come across a lot with when I'm open about my atheism, the common myths I run into. Just to kind of top it off, one of the first ones I run into is that atheists are angry against God. Now, one of the reasons why I want to bring this up is I've seen a lot of people, and their immediate response is, well, how can you be angry against a character you don't even believe in? I'm a fanboy. I can be angry against characters I don't believe in. I hate the Joker. But am I angry against the Christian God? No. I don't really, not angry against it. I don't hate it. I understand the character as a being from a tribal culture and how these are defined and how they're made up. I fully understand it. It's just a myth. That's the only way I see it. The idea that atheists are angry against this character, it comes from the idea that we tend to use the Old Testament a lot when we start to argue about morality and such. And really it doesn't show that we're angry. It's just, well, here's what your God says, and you want to say that, no, he's a friendly, nice guy. He just happens to every now and then accidentally commit genocide against many people. So... let's see. One of the other ones is that atheists worship Satan. That's a fun one. No, we do eat babies, but we don't worship Satan. There's a big difference. And that's only on Christmas. And that's always odd. The idea that you worship something you don't even believe in. How does that work? Let's see. And then another one that I get fairly often is that atheists just want to sin. That's the only reason why we don't believe in God. I've tried asking people who tell me this exactly what they mean, because I can't really respond to it unless I know what they're actually saying. I mean, what kind of sins am I wanting to do? It seems that they know and I don't, so I should ask them, hey, what kind of sins do I want to do? I've never really gotten a response. The only response I've ever really gotten on that one is a question of how many kids do I have? That was kind of ominous, but it never went anywhere from there, so I'm not sure what they mean. And actually, since becoming an atheist, I've become more aware of my own actions. It's not like I'm an atheist, I'm now going to rob a bank. And the NSA, if you're listening, really, I'm not going to rob a bank. But I've actually become more aware of these are my actions and how they will affect other people. Before, I really didn't care about it too much. Let's see, there's the whole idea of a war on Christmas, that atheists want to destroy Christmas for some reason. Really, I've found that most people, most atheists, even in the U.S., really enjoy Christmas. They enjoy the holiday. They enjoy spending time with friends and family. The closest you can get to saying they attack Christmas is when a federal building, a courthouse or something, will have a manger scene or some kind of Christian scene out front, and they view that as a separation of church and state issue. Otherwise, really, I mean, if you look at the businesses that are saying happy holidays, they're not saying happy holidays because of atheists. They're saying happy holidays because they want to sell more stuff to more people. I mean, you have the Muslims have their holiday, the Jews have their holiday all around the same time of year. Wiccans have their seasonal celebration around that same time. So the idea that they're just trying to appeal to atheists is, no, they're just doing it for money so they can get more stuff sold. And let's see, atheists had never read the Bible. I have read the Bible. I've read it twice. I'm trying to read through it again. It's, to be really honest, it's kind of boring, and at times it's kind of terrible. I mean, I don't really enjoy reading stories about genocide and rape and murder, or confusing stories about very stupid heroes like with Samson, but that's just a myth. I mean, there is a trope among atheists that if you want to become an atheist, read the Bible. A lot of atheists actually have gone through at least a good chunk of the Bible. And that ties into another idea that atheists never believed in God. Speaking only for myself, I very much did believe in God as a kid. I wanted to believe in God. I tried to believe in God. as I grew older, and it was like trying to hold on to Santa Claus. For a while, I just couldn't. After a while, I just couldn't believe. It wasn't that I wanted to not believe in God for some reason or to deny God for some reason. I just couldn't make myself believe any longer. And it becomes hard if you if you read a bunch of other myths, if you read the Greek myth, the Roman myths, which really aren't that different. But if you read the Mesopotamian myths, especially, which definitely affected a lot of what became Judaism. If you read a lot of the mythology from the Middle Americas and from Japan and China as well, after a while it gets hard to try to really take all these ideas seriously without some kind of critical examining of these different types of beliefs and what makes one God different than the other. And for me, it wasn't a choice. It was just after I'd read so much, there was a point where I had to say, I can't really justify holding this belief anymore. See. Oh gosh, what else do I run into a lot? Oh, the good one. As an atheist, how can you justify being moral? I think I talked about that the first time. Well, it's fairly easy. I care about other people and was raised in a culture that taught me that other people are worthwhile, and had parents that showed me that people are people and you should treat them just like you want to be treated, which is a decent lesson from the Bible. And really, though, they say that, you've got to have God. Well, a lot of other cultures have God, and we can look at how they treat them. Look at Uganda. They have God. They have one of the most Catholic countries in the world, and look how they treat people in their own country. And if you read the Bible, then if you follow God, you can justify some very terrible things. So it really, you don't have this justification for morality through the Bible and through God like people claim. Really, if you're a good person, you'll end up being a good person whether you believe in God or not, as far as I can tell. And that also kind of plays into the next idea that, if you don't believe in God, atheists live bleak and miserable and sad and boring lives. Well, they're right. Without God, that only leaves me friends, family, books, video games, long conversations, short conversations in cafes, coffee. There's always coffee. What else? There are so many things I'm I'm having trouble trying to list them all. The beach, fishing trips, boats, new discoveries every day of science or through science, new exoplanets, new information about the planets inside our solar system, sunsets. I'm sure you can think of other things. So the idea that just having, it's too bad I don't have God. I'm left with all these other wonderful, amazing, fun things to do and people to meet and things to read and do. Yeah, it's bleak and terrible and boring. The idea that, you'll find God when someone you know and care about dies. Well, I've already had that happen. And no, it's not easy. It's not easy if you're religious. It's not easy if you're an atheist. When you lose people, you lose people. And there are times where I feel that religious people, maybe they know this. Maybe they don't expect to find their loved ones waiting for them in the afterlife. But I don't know the heart of people, so I can't really comment on that. But when it comes to it, when someone that you care about dies, they die. And part of growing up is recognizing that and accepting that and living with it. And I don't think it's not something you forget, or it's not something that you everything gets better with time, sure, but sometimes the only reason why you get better with time is that with enough time, you're gone. So the pain is gone because you're not there anymore. And for me to come out of, when someone you love dies, you'll understand. Well, that's just why not drink? Heck, alcohol, you forget about it too. That's all that you're saying is it's not speaking to the truth of it, just saying that this will help you numb the pain. Well, so does drugs, so does alcohol. Not a very good option. There's the idea that atheists are trying to take over the world. Okay, Christians already took over the world. We don't need to try to take over the world. Christians took over the world, and then they kind of proved to be not very good at ruling the world. And after a while, in all these countries that were very Christian, like England, and to the degree like the United States, and it might just be from lack of competition, Christianity starts becoming more and more mild, and then after a while, why not be an atheist? Because really, when we get down to it, you don't need the Christianity any longer. You have a good society, you have good people, you have a good culture. I don't think you really needed it beforehand, but now that we have gotten to where religion is not a problem, well, we don't really need the baggage associated with the religion any longer. We can just be good people. And really, atheists are not fighting to take over the world or to have an atheist country, because it has its own problems. I mean, North Korea is technically an atheist country. I'd argue that it's more a country of ideology than any specific religion. Kim Jong-il is definitely a religious figure, if there was one in his culture. But you can see, if a strictly atheist country, well, any other religious thought is squashed down, so I would not go for an atheist country. Secular country, one that the government holds no view or no measurement on the religious population or whatever that religion might be. Well, that's really how it should be. You practice your religious beliefs. The government can't do anything about it as long as you're not hurting other people. And you can get into a debate on where that line should be drawn. Do parents have a right to refuse treatment for their medical or for their child if the child is suffering a horrible medical issue just because of their religion or not? That would be a debate to have, and that's not one I would go into at the moment. But there was recent ones concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses and a family with a child who needed medical intervention and they didn't get it. But to say that because the government will not make a view on or not legislate a religion, therefore it's atheist, is not true. It means it's secular. The people involved can have very strong religious opinions and beliefs, but they can't force those religious beliefs on other people. Our country is developing into a very diverse group of, or a country of people with a very diverse set of beliefs and practices, and any attempt to try to say, no, you can't do that because it makes me uncomfortable or because my religion forbids it, or any of these other things, well, that just that would go down a route that I don't think this country wants to go to. And I don't think that it would be a route that I don't think most people who say these things really want the country to go to. Because eventually you reach the point, Christianity has splintered so many times into so many different facets that if it's possible for one sect to become the main sect, then it won't allow any other ones to take place. Look at John F. Kennedy when he was being elected. The big issue people had was not whether he was Democrat or Republican, but that he was Catholic. And he almost didn't get elected because of that. So we need to be very careful about how about when you say, well, we want our religion, the U.S. is a Catholic or a Christian nation. Because then it ends up being, well, which form of Christianity? Is it the Protestant or Catholic? Or Presbyterian? Or Methodist? Or any of these other versions of Christianity that are out there? And that was really why they put the founders put the separation of church and state, is not really for atheists and Christians and the other ones to get along or to not be able to force their beliefs on each other, but really it was because we had so many different forms of Christianity in the country that we wanted, the founders wanted to make sure that one form of Christianity could not force or discriminate against another form of Christianity. That's why we have the amendment that requires no religious test for office. So now, does that mean that today atheists should be barred because it wasn't the intention? No, there was many things that the founding fathers did that we no longer think were great ideas, and whether that's the idea that women shouldn't be able to vote. There were women with property were able to vote in many parts of what became the U.S. and before 1776, before the country was founded. Obviously, slavery is one that got pushed down the road, and look how well that worked out. So the idea for me would be to follow more of the spirit and the of the rules than what the rules actually said. And we've definitely come a long way in our understanding of other people since then and how we should treat other people since then. Now, let's see, what else do Christians not believe or believe about atheists? The idea that we're arrogant. Okay, I'll be honest, I have met atheists who were arrogant and rude, and of course I've also met Christians who were arrogant and rude. And I don't really see that there's any difference between the two that requires some distinction, that one is an atheist, one is a Christian. But also, really, I've noticed this comes up not when it's just an atheist and a Christian, or it's just a description for atheists. What I found is that really what it's about is you have these people who are having these debates with theists, and the fact that you do not automatically accept their argument makes you arrogant. And how dare you say you're more intelligent than God? I'm not saying I'm more intelligent than God. I'm saying I'm more intelligent than you. Or at the very least, I'm more logical and more understanding than you are. And I think that's the real difference is. That's where the real claims of arrogance come from. Because people don't like having their ideas questioned. They don't want to really get into it like many atheists enjoy getting into, and I think that's where the problem comes from. And I don't really think there's a way to fix that myself, because I have tried to be as friendly, as polite, and respectful as possible, and still will get into the claim that I'm being arrogant or rude. And maybe I am, maybe I just don't understand, or maybe these people can't have this kind of conversation. I don't know. I'm not sure. I try, but I do try to do my best there. Let's see. The idea that atheism is a faith is another one that comes up pretty often. And that's one I really don't understand, because for the most part, what an atheist is saying when he says he doesn't believe in a God, he's not saying any other claims, he's not making any other pronouncements, any other statements about his own personal beliefs or her personal beliefs. Anything concerning anything else however else they may guide their lives. All they're saying is that the evidence for God or gods or goddesses is not good enough or not to a sufficient level to require belief. In my personal opinion, I've not seen evidence that is any more supportive of one particular god over the other. And with that being said, I just don't really see a reason to believe in that sense. I mean, after all, if you have enough, if you can use the same logical arguments for your God as someone who is Muslim could use for his interpretation of God, and Judaism could use for their interpretation of God, and then to also say that these same arguments would work for a Hindu God or for Greek God or any of these other gods, then, well, really you end up with something that's not an argument. It doesn't prove anything. It just says that this is what I use to prove my own beliefs. And your own beliefs are fine, but they're not my beliefs, and I'm not required to accept them unless they meet my version of evidence. And in that sense, it's not a faith. I'm not making the claim that God definitely doesn't exist. I'm saying the evidence for me is not good enough. And that's really the only thing I can say. So it doesn't really end up being a faith statement. It ends up being no, I just don't believe. Just as I don't believe in vampires, just as I don't believe in unicorns, or I don't believe in, I don't know, big pink flying elephants named Bertha. So there's that whole idea, and then of course the reply is Pascal's wager. Well, what if you're wrong? I'm really not concerned about that. I'm not concerned about being wrong about God as much. Well, I'm as concerned about that as that I'm wrong about vampires or unicorns. So it's just not something that bothers me. Okay. And then that's really what I have time for today. Let's see. As always, I'm on Facebook under Michael Scott Fulford. You can email me at michaelscottfulford@gmail.com. If you do want to take part in some of the atheism stuff that's going on in Pensacola, there's the Gulf Coast Freethinkers and Humanists of West Florida. Check them both out. With the Humanists of West Florida, we'll be having our first speaker down on October 5th, and we'd love to have you. That'll be this Friday. If you do want more information, just send me an email. And that is all we have time for, so thank you for watching, and you have a great day.